Hey guys, Peter here. I wanted to make a video / rant on depression and negative thoughts and how to deal with them, how they happen, and basically give you a better understanding of negative thoughts and depression. So, negative thoughts and depression can arise from a lot of different ways, and I'll talk about a few ways I'll talk about a few ways that negative thoughts happen and how to deal with them. Now, probably the most devastating negative thoughts / the most devastating ways that people get negative thoughts are through deaths. The problem with deaths are that they are irreversible. Once someone dies, they're dead. They'll never come back to life. You'll never see them again. You've lost that person and that personality in your life. Or you've lost that wonderful pet, if it was a pet. The thing, as I said, that hits hard about this type of negative thought and depression through this is that they're never coming back, so one way you can fix the sadness will be gone, especially if this person helped you through a lot of things in your life. For me personally, when my grandmother died, I was, you could say, in denial for a lot of the time. I refused to believe that she was dead, and when I finally came to terms, I was extremely sad, and it was quite hard for me to carry on in a few days because what I wanted to do was just sit at home and wait for things. I'm not sure what I was waiting for. The way to overcome these sorts of sadness / depression, in my personal opinion, we couldn't call this depression, we'd call these negative thoughts depression is when it actually becomes an illness. The way to deal with these sort of negative thoughts, in my opinion, deal with death, is to really be with people. I'd like to give a sort of small anecdote. Think of yourself as a tree, and think of the person dying as a guy taking a knife and scarring the tree somewhere. The scar never goes away. It can get worse or heal over time, but the thing that really is going to make the big difference is for the tree to grow. The scar doesn't grow. In fact, the scar might even get darker or deeper or darker, but the scar will never grow. If you as a tree grow, the scar seems smaller and smaller and smaller. In fact, at the end, in the story, when the tree grew to its full size, it didn't even notice it had the scar anymore. The fact that your loved one has died will never go away. They're never coming back. And what we have to do is accept this, thank them for the happiness that they've given in our lives, and move on. Especially if they were happy when they died. Which brings me on to the problem that we have with deaths, and that's suicide. Suicide is one of the biggest and most challenging things to get over. Suicide can be a roll-on effect. Once one person kills themselves, another person kills himself, and it just goes on a domino effect. Now, suicides are harder to deal with than deaths of your loved ones or family members, either from accidents or old age. The problem with these is that you always feel like you could have prevented them dying. Oh, I was their friend. Why didn't I notice that they weren't happy with their lives? Was there something I could have done for them? Why didn't I think of doing anything with them? You feel like you're responsible for the fact that your friend or family member has died. And what we have to remember in times like this is that you are never the cause of their death. Those people killed themselves on their own free will. They were unhappy with their life, and there was nothing you could have done. You gave them all the happiness they could have. Maybe they were just not right in the minded. Maybe there was nothing you could have done for them. You have to believe that, and this is going to be a bit hard to say, but you have to believe that even if it's not true, because what happens is that it eats away at your very being. We can take my own example, which is my good friend William Rains killing himself. At the time, I thought that I could have prevented it. He texted me and I didn't text back, and maybe that was one of the roll-on effects of why he eventually led to his suicide. And the problem was, I actually never saw anything wrong with him. He was such a bright guy. You couldn't tell anything was off on the outside. He was always smiling, and these types of things, you have to think that there was nothing you could have done, and that was not your fault, because 99.99% of the time it never is really your fault that they killed themselves. If it was your fault, then you'd probably be charged with homicide, but it's never your fault that a loved one kills themselves. They did it most likely out of their own selfish purposes, and there's nothing you can do now. A lot of people, when feeling sad, that helps, but some people feel angry over the fact that their loved one killed themselves. They didn't care about them enough. You have to understand that these people weren't in the right state of mind when they did such a thing. They had no control. They probably didn't have any control over themselves as they were, as they did the things they did. Now, a lot of the time, a thing that I've noticed is that you don't actually notice that you're sad or depressed or having negative thoughts until it's actually affecting you. For examples, I'm not going to name names, but some friends, they didn't think they were getting negative thoughts until we found them sitting in a corner with a knife doing things. Now, people don't usually notice that they've got a problem until the problem becomes too late. So what we have to do is that even when we're feeling just a little down, we should give it a big think and think, will this actually affect us? This can be hard, and sometimes talking to someone you really know or care about, such as a caregiver or some sort of parental figure, always would help in this sense. Now, there's a lot of ways that people just get normal negative thoughts, which is, I think, the one that's going to appeal to most of the people who are going to watch this video. And that's through school. And this is through school, human interaction and relationships. Basically, at school, you can get bullied either physically or mentally, and maybe you can go through a troubling relationship with somebody. I like to talk about the bullying one first, as I think that's most of the reason why people kill themselves. Well, not kill themselves, get bad or depressing thoughts. Now, people get bullied, and that's the truth. You get bullied verbally or physically. I've been bullied, everyone's been bullied. I've probably bullied someone not on purpose, which sucks to think about, because I never want to be the person that bullied me, but I probably have. I'm not sure. I can't say I'm not perfect. I've probably done things that I'll regret. Bullying, when these kind of things happen, the best way, there's two ways you can deal with it. Well, there's actually one way you should deal with it. You should not shut yourself off to the world. If you shut off your problems, it's only a temporary fix. It's not the fix you have. That's not a permanent fix, because those feelings are going to come back with twice the power and bite you in the ass, and it's going to be very hard to deal with then. Now, if it's bullying, you should always, and I stress this so much, always talk to somebody. Bullying is really hard to get through by yourself. You should always talk to someone, preferably an adult or somebody who is of a higher standing to you that can actually help you. Now, getting negative thoughts through bullying is not something you can just usually go through yourself. it's usually always the best to talk to somebody about it. I say usually because it's not always the case, as sometimes it can worsen, but almost always you want to talk to someone about it, as they can help you. As a teacher, a parent can always help. They've been alive probably 4 times as long as you have, and they would know a lot more about it. Now, obviously, there's other ways you can get sad thoughts or unhappy thoughts, and that's just through normal life. Your friends probably not talking to you. Maybe you find out that somebody you like doesn't like you, or some small mundane thing. Although they seem small and mundane, they can really have a big impact on you. And the ways that to deal with these, in my opinion, would be to immerse yourself in something. Now, these can be reading books, or maybe doing a skill in it, or an art such as magic or whatever. A really good one is to learn an instrument, as you can perform this, and if other people are impressed by this, your ego, you basically improve your own self-worth and confidence, and this can really help, especially when you're having negative thoughts. Or when you're actually feeling really down, if you play an instrument and hear yourself making music, it helps so much with dealing with negative thoughts. So, and when you read, you immerse yourself in a fantasy world so you can escape from some of the hardships in life. Obviously, this is a temperamental fix, but if you're feeling really down, it is basically a quick boost to yourself. Reading a book, you can look through the problems of the main character's eyes and most of the time see how small and insignificant some of the problems you have. Obviously, not counting bullying, just normal school things getting you down, how insignificant they really are to the rest of the problems that the world faces, and knowing this usually helps a lot in dealing with your own problems. I'd like to again talk about if you have actual depression, like if you feel like the negative thoughts that you're having are overwhelming yourself. A lot of people in this world get depression. Obviously, I can't lie to you straight and say that it's normal to get depression. If you have a normal life, it's not normal to get depression. I'm sorry if this offends some people. I truly am not meaning to offend anyone, but on a regular basis, normal, happy people don't usually get depression unless they were born with it. Obviously, most people aren't born with depression. It's usually through environmental factors such as bullying, relationship issues, or issues at home. What you want to do is to see if it's getting to a point where you're inflicting self-harm on you or harm on others. You should really see a therapist. Therapist helps so much in so many ways. I've personally not actually I won't talk about my personal run-ins with my personal. Actually, yes, I will talk about therapists. Well, my personal experience. They help so much. You talk about what you feel like is down on you, and they give a logical approach from somebody who's not affected, and you get an unbiased opinion on something. They can help so much in the sense that if you're feeling down, you know why you're feeling down and how to solve it yourself. And the first line of depression the first defense against depression is to get some sort of therapy, either through talking to a teacher, the school counselor, etc. Just talking even once lifts you so much. And a lot of a huge reason that some people don't actually go to a therapist is because they think it's a cowardly. What I've got to say to that is the true cowardice is not going to a therapist, because what happens in the end is that you end up taking your own life. Well, may end up taking your own life, and we usually see suicide as the coward's way out. So I would say no. I would say it's usually the best to see a therapist. In fact, I would say you'd be the bravest person to actually admit that you may have a problem if you do and see a therapist. And yeah. Another way that people can deal with depression is through pills. Now, some people who have severe depression take antidepressants. These antidepressants basically stop the parts in your brains firing negative thoughts and just make everything happy thoughts, basically. Don't think that people who, if you're taking antidepressants, do not think that you are actually like a coward or have no willpower over that you can't control your own emotions. Sometimes it's just not possible to control your own emotions at times because we are trying to solve something that we personally have no control over. And if you know someone's taking pills, don't make fun of them. Just don't. Because they've gotten to a point that's so serious that even they themselves can't. Most human beings have so strong willpowers, so when we actually need to use medicine to make us feel better, we know that something is really wrong, and making fun of that person will only make it worse. So ways that we can deal with depression are to immerse yourself in something, to make it something positive, stay with positive, and basically grow yourself. And a really good way that I don't think I've mentioned before to grow yourself is to surround yourself with people. In fact, I'll go back to the thing about William's deaths. The way that got me the fastest to be happy again was to be with a lot of positive, influential people in my life, such as my mother or my good friends. They helped so much. They helped me so much, especially when I was going through not a good time in my life, because I was feeling really quite down when William took his own life. And surrounding yourself by people is like adding fertilizer to the tree that you are and making that tree grow so much. It's so important to surround yourself with a positive influence, because with these positive influences, everything is so much better, because they can relate to your pain if you're feeling that, and they can basically alleviate some of the stress and depression that you may feel. So I've talked about a few ways that we can deal with depression and things, and I'd like to just talk a little bit about talking about depression. A lot of the times, especially in boys statistically, a lot of the times people don't talk about their feelings enough, and this can lead to big problems. This is especially apparent in boys because if we take the statistics, 70% of people who do therapy are female, and 70% of people who actually end up taking their own lives are males, and that statistic is just not right. Like, that's terrible that people take their lives, but that 70% of people are males, and that's because they don't have therapy. Because what happens is we are living, I am living in a society that means that males have to be super masculine and boyish, and talking about your feelings is something girls do, and it's not something we do because we're manly, and that's, in my opinion, the most stupidest thing I've heard in my life. Not talking about your opinions not only hurts people around you, but also not only hurts you, but hurts people around you. They may not know the pain that you're currently feeling, and just not talking about it can just make it so much worse. So I think what we should do is talk about our feelings more, especially when we're sad. So talk about our feelings when we're sad, especially for boys, and we have to learn to talk more, basically. Talk more about we have to learn to speak more quality than quantity, because we have to learn that we have to talk. We may talk less, but we have to talk meaningfully. Now this is kind of rambling now, but I want to talk about how to help others with depression, or depression, negative thoughts, and how to help yourself with negative thoughts. One thing is, don't be a dick and bully somebody. People who bully others are usually feeling down themselves, so it's kind of like a domino effect. You bully one person and that person goes on to bully another, and it's just a whole bloody wheel of people being sad. If you're feeling down, you have a negative thought, usually it's the best to keep it to yourself and if usually people who bully people are because they're sad themselves or are being bullied themselves. I can't say that I haven't bullied somebody. I probably have. I can't remember because I hate bullies and I do not enjoy being bullied. I've been bullied before, but it's something that I've overcome through the methods that I've said before, talking to others and immersing myself. I've probably bullied somebody. In fact, I think that everyone in this world has bullied someone in some way or form, maybe not even intentionally. So I think it's important that we that if we're going to say something negative, it has to be constructive if we say negative things at all, because going to somebody and just shaming them for who they are is... So as I was saying, don't be a dick, don't bully others. Bullying others is one of the worst things that we as humans can do. And when you are not feeling happy, one important thing you have to do is to help others is to say positive things to them. Now, I know personally, if I was feeling a bit down in a day, if someone said, "Oh, I like how you're here," or "nice shoes" or something, I know I'd immediately feel better myself. So we want to spread this happiness around. We don't want just somebody being... we need to spread being happy around. We can't just leave someone to be sad on their own. So yeah, I think I've covered most of it. Ways people get depressed and ways people do get depressed, why we get depressed. I'm gonna ramble on a little bit about how we get depressed, like relationships. The main thing with sadness over relationships is that you have to understand that at my age, about 15, which is what this video is intended for, relationships should not be serious. If you're having a serious relationship at 15 years old, then you're putting too much of yourself into this relationship. It's not healthy for you, as chances are you're going to end up splitting at some point, as 15 is too young for you to make a sexual decision of yourself that may carry on with you for the rest of your life. If you get if you get sadness over this, the best thing in my opinion for you to do is just to to immerse yourself in books or reading. Getting down generally, just immerse yourself. So I did hope that this helped, and in fact, you know what, I'm going to go into a little bit about myself and how what I've said has helped me. I've never been diagnosed with depression or OCD or anything, but there's have been times where I've been feeling really, really down about myself, especially when I'm having a lot of school problems at one time, or death or a huge change in my life can bring negative thoughts to me. I'll just talk a little bit about myself. One of my really good friends decided to, William Rains, which I've covered a little bit, but I'll take this into a bit more detail, decided to take their own life. I don't want to call him selfish, as I don't know why he did it, and I'm not interested in knowing why, because it's something that I've already gotten over, but I'll just talk about it still because this video may help someone. When William Rains did kill himself, I was in Chicago playing badminton, and through an email, I was sitting in bed, and I took out my phone and I read the email, and I was just, I don't even know what I was saying. I just looked. I couldn't believe it. I was in denial, you could say. I just stared and stared, and William Raines, and I just read the name over and over again, and wait, the William Raines, you mean the one that I was playing computer games with the other day and talking to, the one that I forgot to text a few days ago? He's dead. We did win the badminton competition that year, but in none of the photos I was smiling. And that's because I was in such a sad state of mind that I couldn't really bring myself to do anything. I was sitting at the hotel that we were staying at, completely blank-faced. My teammates tried to cheer me up, but I didn't really talk about it, and I think that was one of the main problems. But then I didn't actually talk about how I was feeling and how sad and angry I was over William taking his own life. Well, technically I didn't actually have real therapy from an inscribed tutor. I had a mentor, you could say, that talked to me over things, and it helped so much. Like, I'd go to her every now and then and I'd tell her about my problems, and she'd give me an unbiased and logical point of view on something. And it just helped so much, and I think in like a month or two I was over it. And you have to understand that these negative thoughts won't go away immediately. It's a work in progress. Life is a work in progress. You get things come and things go, and it's a slow process. Actually, I think you know what a good way is that you can. This is just a add-on if you stay to the end. You know what a good way of immersing yourself is to write poetry or write poetry or do any sort of artistic expression. If you write out what you're feeling, you can overcome it much easier as you know what the problem is, rather than opposed to it being in your brain. And if you turn into poetry, you can turn something bad into something beautiful. And I think I'll mention one more thing. Sometimes it's best to say out loud why you're feeling down. I'll give you an example of why I say this. This is why I was down once. I, Peter, am sad over the fact that somebody I might have liked did not like me back. I said this out loud, thought of myself as such an idiot that I would get sad, I would be angry or sad over such a small thing, because when I put my own problems into perspectives of the world, I realized that they're so insignificant and how grateful I am. I live in a house with clean water while children are starving all across the nation, all across the world. So sometimes saying out your problems helps because you realize how small they are, and this can, I'm not saying always will, but saying out why you're feeling down can help with why you're feeling sad. I'm sorry, this is kind of turning into sort of a rant and blather. There's no really logical pattern on what I'm trying to say. But I think the most important thing is to keep a positive mindset, immerse yourself in things that make you happy, be around people who make you happy, don't be around people who make you sad. If someone is making you sad over the internet, the easiest way to deal with it is just to block them. Facebook has so many ways you can do that, Skype, Twitter, Tumblr, whatever. So I think that it does it for me. This has been a very long video. I thank you very much if you watched at the end, as I did put quite a bit of thought into making this video, and I wanted to make it as useful and helpful to as many people as I can. If you still have problems, just feel free always if you're still having these problems, as I've said, it's best to talk to somebody, especially an adult, as they've lived probably 4 times as long as you have, and have a much better understanding, especially a counsellor. They can help you so much. But if you feel like you don't want to talk to somebody that's not of your age group, feel free to talk to me. I'll leave links to my Facebook, my Tumblr, Steam, all my ways you can contact me, and you don't even have to reveal who you are. You can be anonymous. I don't mind. I would like to help people. I would like to help people as like the people who helped me. I would like to help people like the people who helped me. I would like to help others as how others have helped me, because I just want to spread the happiness that is really my life because of some people who just made my life worth living. So my life is awesome. I've never really had any sort of diagnosed depression. I'm quite a happy person usually. So if you do have a problem, feel free to talk to me, because I have a little bit of a small understanding of how to solve it. And yeah, just if you have any further questions or anything, feel free to talk to me. I'm always available to chat with you. If you have a problem, I'll be kind. I'll be kind. I won't be a dick to you. I'll give you my genuine opinion or something. And yeah, I hope this video has helped at least one person. Thank you for watching. If you've watched it to the end, it's kind of turned into a rant. Thank you. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.